Hey Bronfenner, I've been reading Autonomy and Aggression in the 3-Year-Old, the Uktu Eskimo case by Jean L. Briggs, and I'm confused. Could you help me to understand this article using your model?
Well, the author didn't use my model. She used Erik Erikson's stages of development. Briggs was using Erikson's model to compare and contrast the development of autonomy in Uktu Eskimo children to Western children.
I don't think I fully understand. Can you give me an example?
Certainly. Let's use the ecological perspective theory to assess the development of the 3-year-old Uktu child.
Sounds good.
Let's begin with a simple description of my model. First, we will look at the Merkau system. This system houses the environments that affect the child directly.
What do you mean by environments?
The environments are the people and interactions that affect the child's life. For example, a Uktu Eskimo 3-year-old child's primary influences are his family and tribe. In the Uktu Eskimo culture, a mother, father, and extended family give full attention to the young child. This child will sleep between his or her parents at night and is also always carried on his or her mother's back. The child is never left alone.
Oh, yeah, I remember reading about that. Isn't the child naked on his mother's back so the mother can tell if the child needs use relief himself?
That's right. At first sign of distress, the mother removes the child from her back and places him over a can that they use to relieve. The child learns to ask for the can over time.
But wait, what happens when the family has another child? I read something about the Uktu Eskimos wait a few years before having a second child. If a child is 3 years old, wouldn't they have another child soon?
Yes, they would. When this happens, the older child is expected to help care for and love his sibling. Also, the older child is expected to become more independent for the rest of their life.
For their life? They are only 3 years old. Is this when the older child starts developing autonomy?
Yes. Remember that this is not Western culture. Children have different responsibilities in the Uktu tribe.
Can you explain how autonomy is established then? I know in Western culture potty training is typically the first step towards establishing it. If the Uktu mother always places her child on the can, then autonomy via potty training doesn't work. Erikson's conflict stage, autonomy versus shame, doesn't seem to apply.
It doesn't really. When the second child is born, the mother removes a great deal of attention from the older child. For instance, weaning, form nursing. Even if the child asks, the mother will refuse the child. The same principles are applied to the backpacking of the child. When the second child is born, the older sibling is expected walk and be compassionate and loving.
So if I was a Uktu Eskimo child and I had a little brother or sister, I would have to become loving and compassionate?
Yes, you would have to accept that you are no longer dependent. The people in your microsystem would stay the same. However, your role and responsibilities would change. Autonomy is achieved through a new sense of purpose.
How is that in the ecosystem?
Because it is a major life event that directly affects the child. And it involves the people that are in direct contact with the child.
Oh, that makes sense.
Now, let's move to the mesosystem.
That? Where the different environments of the ecosystem interact, right?
That's correct. In the example of the Uktu Eskimo, since they are nomadic, they don't live with the same people all the time. The seasons determine which campsite they have. The way that the campsites interact with each other goes into the child's mesosystem.
Oh, okay then. How would that affect a child's development?
The Child will learn from different elders and learn different dangers. Form the different campsites. The Uktu don't go to the same extremes to protect their children as we do in Western society. They offer advice on what not to do. For instance, if they tell their child that fire is hot and not to touch it, the child is expected to listen but is also given the freedom to discover that truth for themselves. This seems taboo to us, but the child soon realizes that his elder's advice is good, and thus learns to trust.
Sweet. That makes much more sense.
Great. Now on to the exosystem. This is when the child is affected by something but not directly.
Oh. Okay, so if the parents are fighting with each other, that would be in a child's exosystem.
Yes, but let's have an example from the Uktu Eskimo tribe.
Okay. Like what?
Well, the elders, for example. A child is expected to respect the elders in the community, even if the child has never met them. This affects the child's development by training them to control their emotions. That is a big deal in Uktu Eskimo tribe.
That sounds similar to respect in Western culture. Like how children are expected to respect teachers and parents, for example.
Correct. You are getting this down.
Woot.
Finally, we have the ecosystem. This is where the overall culture, values, and expectations are placed. The Uktu Eskimo nomadic lifestyle is in the macrosystem, for example. So are their communal relationships and strong sense of respect.
I thought that the culture and the expectations were in the exosystem.
They are. The thing to remember about my model is that everything interacts with everything else. They appear to be isolated systems, but they are not. They are the sum of all influences on any particular person. The culture of the Uktu Eskimo will affect everything in the 3-year-old.
Oh, I see.
So, let's see if you fully understand. Can you tell me what we just discussed?
Okay, I will try. The research done by Briggs compared how autonomy is achieved by Uktu Eskimo children to Western children using Erikson's crisis stages.
Correct.
And she found that autonomy is achieved like Erikson suggests. But it achieved through role responsibility instead of potty training.
Good so far.
Then we looked at the Uktu child through your ecological perspectives. Modlan found that Uktu children learn responsibility, respect, and compassion at a very young age. They are engulfed in attention until their sibling is born, then they are expected to become more independent. The Uktu child is nurtured by the tribe as a whole, and is expected to respect all elders.
That's great. What about the systems? Can you describe that again?
Well, in the microsystem the child has his family and the personal relationships in the tribe. The mesosystem and exosystem are where the interactions between family and others in the tribe take place. The macrosystem includes the Uktu's nomadic lifestyle, value system, and hierarchy based in respect and age.
You have learned a lot. Why do you think that all this is relevant to you as a future teacher?
It provides me an understanding of how cross-cultural relationships work. I may never work with an Uktu child, but understanding their lifestyle helps me understand that Western culture is not the only culture. The more I know, the smarter I become.
That's great. The first step to becoming a great teacher is becoming a great student.